In an effort to escape the zombie plague that is pretty much in all of New England and starting to move into the Midwest and down the coast, people are packing up their SUVs and hitting the road. It is causing many problems, like accidents and pileups, and toll booths are becoming battle zones, and because of this, people are getting killed, and then you see where I'm going with this. This is Still Life with Zombies. I'm not saying that panic isn't a thing you should be feeling, but we really need to be panicking in a more orderly fashion. This is Ted Stitchman coming to you alive from my apartment in Brooklyn, New York again. It's day 9. Oh, and if you didn't have enough reason to panic, here's something. Are you familiar with Tucker Carlson? If you're white, angry, and over the age of 60, then you might know Tucker. I don't make a habit of watching him, but it's a whole new world out there, and I did see a clip of him in which he, reporting from California because he was one of the people who had to be evacuated from New York, and so he was doing his thing and asked a question. Just a question. He was just asking a question. What if we bombed the epicenter of the epidemic? Some people say that we should consider bombing NYC. I mean, he's just asking the question that some people are asking. Would it be such a bad thing? In a greater good sort of way in which it's just a question and people like him are asking it. I mean, people ask questions all the time. It doesn't mean anything. There's no harm in asking, let's blow up Manhattan, just in case people think it's a good idea. He's not saying we should. He's just asking the question. Wouldn't it be beneficial long term? Questions are just words, and words never hurt anybody. I mean, he's not here anymore. He's in California. But if he were, wouldn't he feel a certain obligation to get himself bombed for the greater good, as long as it was a question that somebody asked? I'm just asking a question. So this is now trending on social media. It has officially become part of the national discussion because it wasn't there before, but it is now because a simple question was asked, and I made tuna casserole today. My mom used to make it when I was growing up, so I just used her recipe, only I had to use ramen noodles instead of egg noodles, and happily I had a can of cream of mushroom soup on hand, or rather, it was my roommate's can. Sorry, Eric. I used your last cream of mushroom soup. Don't hate. And it turned out okay. Yeah. You know. And the thing is, while I was eating my concoction and watching Breaking Bad, I'm up to season 4 now. I'm going back and forth between that and The Good Place, and I'm not sure it was a good idea, but we'll see. And while I'm eating, getting that last bit of tuna casserole, scraping it out of the bowl, I start thinking I just used 3 things to make one meal. I just used 3 meals on their own to make one meal. I just essentially subtracted 2 meals from myself. I mean, I'm to the point where I only eat 1 meal a day, so, well, that's worse when I think about it, because that means I subtracted 2 days of eating, it didn't occur to me while I was making it that that's what I was doing. I just wanted to, I don't know. My parents live in Florida because they have money and can do that. I speak to them pretty much on a daily basis right now, which is way more than I'm used to talking to them. We're fine. It's fine. I love them. They love me. We're not dysfunctional. They don't like that I live in New York. Before this, they didn't like it. I think they still think, because they lived in an era when every show or movie about New York was just a big cavalcade of crime and sex shops and swindlers and fancy dressed pimps and just an all-around lawlessness when it really hasn't been like that for years, at least not to that degree. Anyway, they don't like it that I'm here, and all this just makes it worse because maybe this is God's wrath, blah, blah, blah. Huh. They wanted to drive up here to get me, and I was like, nope, that's not happening. Neither of you are good drivers. It's not that they're so old that they can't do it anymore. They are just bad drivers. It makes me wonder if that's how they got together in the first place. Like that's what they found they had in common. And I'm not a bad driver, so it's not genetic. I didn't get that gene. I just don't have a car, and I don't have a driver's license anymore, and I don't have the steal a car skill set. Oh, I wonder if there's a YouTube video for that. Huh. Well, I mean, it's not like I would not enjoy an escape route. I just don't see it as being very practical, especially now with all the freeways in the Northeast being littered with pileups. They would just add to the pile no matter who is driving. All they can do right now is pray for me, and they tell me that they are, and that's all. Sure, thoughts and prayers, okay. I'm not so cynical that... No, yeah, I am. I cannot muster any sort of God's divine plan up in here. I don't see God's wrath in this. I see a mistake. Something went wrong, and I am not in any position to post blame, and I know that there's a lot of talk about this being chemical warfare brought about by Russia, China, in one case Mexico. Somebody said France. I don't get YouTubers sometimes. I don't know if they're getting information from a source or they're just making shit up because it gets them likes and they can get monetized through that. But yeah, make that money. This is the time. Make enough to buy yourself out of this mess. Go to some country that isn't infected. Go to the Caribbean and buy a beach house. And by the way, that's starting to not be an option if the BBC is to be believed, because despite the fact that anyone traveling from the US has been banned from almost every other country, that apparently only applies to commercial flights. It does not apply to private planes. So there's a possibility that places like Europe and Australia and Japan and China and Saudi Arabia are now infected, though it's not being talked about unless through a few independent news sources. We're doing so good with this. Go team. I heard that private security forces are being employed by some companies like banks and like car companies, places like that, so they can keep their businesses going, keep their employees safe. While companies like Google and Facebook and Netflix are being more, I don't know if there's a word for it, inclusive? No, not inclusive. They're hiring people like NYC did to be on the front lines should the virus spread to their offices. So, employment opportunities. Well, unemployment is up, obviously, because people are dying and then sometimes eating potential candidates. I pulled up, see, there was this I heard this was happening, and so I looked into it. This is what Google posted under their Google Careers page, which I'm thinking is new. We know hiring processes can seem overwhelming, especially given the current climate of the United States. But we don't want you to feel overwhelmed at Google. We want all candidates to have access to the same information and resources, whether or not they have military experience, a background in law enforcement, or a high school degree. After all, our mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful, and for that to continue, we will need people from all walks of life to keep our business safe. If you do not have a gun permit, don't let that discourage you. We have personnel dedicated to training you for any situation. There's more. Google's hiring process is an important part of our culture. Googlers, Googlers, I had no idea they called them that. That's fun. Googlers care deeply about their teams and the people who make them up and defend them. We also care about building a more representative and inclusive workplace, and that begins with hiring those who, beyond formal education, are willing to protect the business so that it may continue for years to come. In order to truly build for everyone, we know that we need a diversity of perspectives and experiences, and a fair hiring process is the first step in getting there. Best wishes, Google. It doesn't say that. I'm making that up. They don't say best wishes. Maybe they should have. Like, thoughts and prayers. Thoughts and prayers, Google. Like a real person. I feel like me posting this may get me banned from YouTube. Google owns YouTube. We'll see. If you missed day 9, this may be why. Let's leave this episode on a positive note, why don't we? Sure, let's do that. I learned something new today, or maybe didn't learn anything. I don't know. It's just a couple of things. First off, I saw a zombie trying to catch a pigeon today, and it was funny. It was so... Oh, man. And second, also funny, not as... a couple of zombies got into my building and are now at the bottom of the stairs, and turns out they're shit at climbing stairs. They do not have the motor functions to accomplish that. So there are 2 zombies. Right now there are 2 zombies on the first floor of my building, flopping around at the bottom of the stairs, unable to figure out how to get up here. Now, I don't know why they're not going after the people on the first floor. I know that of the 2 apartments on the first floor, one is empty, because unless you lived here 3 years ago before a rental company bought it from the family that used to own it, it got really expensive because gentrification started moving in this direction. But anyway, off topic, these things can't do stairs so good. So maybe that's a little hope that we need. Laughing in the face of power. That's all I got for today. Will there be an episode tomorrow? Maybe. I'm thinking yes, unless the zombies start behaving like a team to overcome stairs. Because in order to truly build for every zombie, we know that we need a diversity of perspectives and experiences, and getting up the stairs is the first step in getting there. Yeah, I may be losing it. I may be in some sort of denial arena right now because shit is funny. Like, share, and don't die. And live on the second floor. Second floors are good.